Hey everyone, what a great night. January 16th, 2025. The Montreal Canadiens come away with a 3-1 victory over the Dallas Stars. And have we seen the loss of Michael Pezzetta? Let's drop the puck on Montreal Hockey Talk. Hey everybody, Costa here, welcoming you to another edition of Montreal Hockey Talk on another successful night for the Montreal Canadiens. Their second straight victory, this time getting a little measure of revenge on the Dallas Stars in Dallas at the American Airlines Center. And let me start off by saying, who in their right mind would dress all the concession guys in the same color t-shirt as our friend in the neon jacket at the Bell Center? It's not a great idea. It gives me PTSD seeing that color all the time. But anyway, I digress. And I'll apologize up front. I'm fighting off a cold, trying to be as clear as possible. So please forgive me if I do happen to clear my throat once or twice during the show. Now, we talked about Michael Pezzetta. And of course, he had no input on tonight's win, except for the fact that he took probably the dumbest penalty I've ever seen in the world by getting an interference call on a delayed offside. The Canadiens have time to clear the puck. Pezzetta decides, you know what? I'm going to knock this guy in his ass. Takes 2 minutes and then looks up like he's all confused. I've never seen a player in my lifetime play himself out of the National Hockey League as quickly as Michael Pezzetta, because he's not getting more than 6 minutes a game. And in those 6 minutes, he always gets a penalty. And that's not the impression you want to leave on your coach. And I'm sure Ken Hughes and Marty St. Louis are going to have a discussion because, after all, Emil Heinemann's out, like we said last show, for 3 to 4 weeks after getting hit by a car in Utah. So they need help. And Pezzetta's not the answer. They're not carrying an extra forward, so they need one. That being said, let's bring up the name of Joel Armia. If there's anybody that deserves credit for tonight's win, number one is Joel Armia. Playing like a man possessed. No stick, no problem. Hitting guys along the boards, trying to clear the puck with his feet, just being tenacious on the puck at all times on the boards, getting scoring chances, hitting a goal post, and finally getting rewarded, I should say, with his 100th career goal. It's in an empty net, but who gives a rat's ass? And, you know, I've been one of those guys that was always hard on Armia, especially when he was struggling a year and a half ago. And I'm happy to say I was completely wrong. And this is the player I think the Montreal Canadiens always envisioned Armia to be. Now, granted, it's a contract year. Granted, he's pretty much going to be gone at the trade deadline. But for what it's worth, he's probably playing the best hockey of his career in a role that he's built to play. A guy that can check hard, keep possession of the puck along the half wall, dig it out, feed the puck to his line mates, and kill off penalties. I mean, it is what it is. And he'll get the occasional scoring chance and pot one in. So good on Joel Armia. He was a big part of tonight's victory, as was Lane Hudson, as usual, getting the assist on the game winner. That kid, other than the mistake he made in getting that penalty in the third period, his game is pretty much flawless. I would be remiss to try to find something wrong with the way he plays the game, because there just isn't. On the other hand, you look at his partner, Mike Matheson, and early in the hockey game in the first, he had a complete brain cramp where he decided it was a good idea to go cross ice in the neutral zone while he was standing still. And when he did that, it led to the puck being intercepted going the other way and eventually ending up in the Montreal net. No fault of Jakob Dobes, but, you know, as an NHL defenseman, a veteran defenseman, you could see it hurt him, because for the rest of the game, until I'd say maybe the late stages of the third period, he seemed very tentative with the puck. You know, trying not to do too much and doing too little all at the same time. And it's hard to explain what I mean, but basically in throttling back and not being the Mike Matheson that we all know and love, who can skate like the wind and carry the puck up the ice, he was sitting back. And when he does that, he's completely off his game. He's not comfortable. And when he is uncomfortable, he tends to give the puck away. Instead of making crisp passes, he floats the puck up and flips it out, which is something, by the way, that started again after David Savard returned from his injury. I don't know who or what the idea is, but During the second period, those flip passes where you're just throwing it out to the neutral zone and letting the Stars just attack you again, stupidest idea ever because they just dominated the second. And I'd say the beginning half of the third as well until Montreal scored. It is maddening to me when I see that flip pass out of the zone from well behind the goal line. It's not even a question of the players trying to skate up a little bit and doing it. They're standing flat-footed and trying to flip the puck out. It's, as a coach, I cringe. I can't fathom a player not moving his feet and trying to do something like that. Anyway, it really hurt the Canadiens tonight. More often than not, every time they did that, what they were doing is allowing Dallas to regroup, stretch the neutral zone out, and open up space for them to attack with speed. And you saw it time and time again, whether it was Dadonov, Duchesne, Ben. They just kept coming. And, luckily, Montreal's bend, don't break philosophy worked for the better part of, I would say, 30 minutes. And luckily, they were able to get that goal by the deflection by Newhook to be able to get that lead and kind of breathe easy a little bit. But really, they could have hurt themselves really badly. I prefer a team play more structured. I prefer a team try to possess the puck. And I've said as much on BlueSky as I was live messaging during the game. It would do the Canadiens wonders to have possession of the puck a little bit and alleviate some of that ping pong hockey that I like to call it. They were playing as they were giving the puck back to Dallas all the time, and Dallas was just coming back at him. And if you allow that too often, you see what happened to Montreal as the game progressed. They got fatigued. The guys were out there for stretches of 1.5, 145, 2 minutes, and it's not good for them. The legs get heavy at that point, and you know that Marty St. Louis is going to try to go with his best players. So all those best players are going to have that buildup of lactic acid in their legs, and it's going to be like they're skating with tree trunks as opposed to legs. And so we saw that. They had a hard time moving. And so if you keep possession of the puck a little bit longer, you can control the game more, and you can allow for your guys to really skate in clusters out and pass the puck. But by and large, man, oh man, Slafkovsky scoring for the first time in 10 games. Great setup by Cole Caulfield. I mean, that pass, he drew everybody in and made that backhand pass into the slot. Slafkovsky beating his check and just poking it into an empty net. Ottinger didn't even move. He just turned, looked, and oh, well, such is life. And so that made it 1-1. And then, of course, Newhook scoring in the third and Armia getting the empty netter. Montreal wins it 3-1. Yay, yay, yay. Now, just a quick note. Michael Pezzetta, in Greek, I was going to start the show off like this, but my wife gave me shit because she didn't want me to throw anything on the ground. But the name Pezzetta or Pezzetta means towel. So I'm throwing in the towel on Michael Pezzetta. It was nice knowing you, man, but your time here in Montreal is done. And I've really never seen a player play himself out of an NHL career as quickly as Michael Pezzetta. He'd been sitting on the bench since the beginning of the season. Really didn't play very much. Hadn't played since, I think, October 26th until he got back into the lineup. And then when he did get back into the lineup, he just kept on taking penalties that did nothing, as I mentioned. And it's, do something. Throw a hit. Drop the gloves. Do anything other than take a penalty like that. But no, they're all little chintzy penalties. Really crappy one against Utah the other day where he was holding the stick, and then today the absolute brain fart in his own zone on a delayed offside. I mean, enough said there. Let's move on to the star of the show tonight, and that's Jakob Dobes. Another win for Doby. I mean, this guy, it's incredible the poise that he has. And early on in the hockey game, as was pointed out by J.D. LaGrange, who, if you're not following him on BlueSky, oh my God, you're missing out. Great writer, writes for the Sick podcast, writes on his own website, grumpa.ca, on things other than hockey. I mean, he's a great follow. He's got great opinions, and he's an absolutely beautiful gentleman. So if you're out there on BlueSky, go ahead and follow him, J.D. LaGrange. I'm telling you. And so J.D. came out there and said that Dobes, in the later stages of the game, got his rebound controlled back. Because early on, what the Stars were trying to do, and this could be very well be advanced scouting on their part, they were shooting up high above the crest on Dobes' jersey, making it a little bit more difficult for him to control rebounds. That's essentially how the first goal went in. It was a rebound up high, and then Robertson got the puck and fired it in. But you saw the puck bouncing off his chest continuously at the beginning of the game, and he had a hard time really keeping control of the puck. Afterwards, he was starting to get his wits about himself and controlling rebounds and making him go off to the side, which is what you ask a goaltender to do when he really doesn't have control of the puck. And then as the game progressed, he got even more comfortable making glove save after glove save, taking pucks in the chest and freezing them to get faceoffs, and really giving his team a chance when Dallas was pushing hard. He was giving his team a chance to really, take a breath and take a break and get their wits about themselves. And that's what good goaltenders do. You've seen it from Sam Montembeault of late. It wasn't something that he was doing earlier in the season. He's doing it now, which is great. And now you've got Dobes, who's really settled the goaltending position down in Montreal. I don't dislike Caden Primo, but Caden Primo didn't have any confidence. Right now, he's playing extremely well in Laval, so that's great. But if he's going to be a career AHL goaltender, that's fine too for him. And I hope he's not, because the same was said about Charlie Lindgren. But when it comes to Jakob Dobes, he's a different animal. He's so good at keeping his poise and being in control. And the only time you really saw him show any emotion on the ice was when Joel Armia scored the empty netter, and he breathed out a sigh of relief, which was great because he deserved it. Faced a lot of rubber in this hockey game, a lot of very difficult shots with a lot of traffic in front of him. Oftentimes, he made saves when he never saw the puck, but when he did see the puck, he made the saves that he needed. And so kudos to Jakob Dobes giving up just one goal again. I forget on how many shots. I think it was 36. Let me check the stats quickly as I keep talking. But, it's always tough to go into an arena where you're playing against one of the better teams in the Central Division. And, it was 33 shots. I stand corrected. But when you go into a new arena, it's the first time he's played there. And you're playing in a hostile environment where the Dallas Stars fans are really ruckus. They're really loud. They're rowdy. And for him to go in there and show the absolute poise and control that he had, it speaks volumes towards his mentality as a goaltender. So, we're in a good place right now between the pipes. As long as Sam Montembeault continues that upward trend of where he was and where he is right now, where he's eating up the rebounds, he's not giving up bad rebounds, and he's controlling the pace of the game and allowing his team to, really reset when they have to and they're behind the eight ball, then the Canadiens are going to continue to progress and continue to win. And it's going to be a tough one because coming up, they've got a really difficult weekend against two very good teams, and we'll talk about it in a second. Actually, let's just talk about it right now. Actually, no. Let's talk about the middle of the ice before I get to previewing the weekend. The Canadiens have this habit, and it was really prevalent against the Utah Hockey Club. Man, I hate the name of that team. That when they get pressed and they have a hard time really getting control of the puck, they try to move the puck out along the half wall as opposed to using the area between the dots. And what happens is in doing that, you allow the opposition to put in a forecheck that forces you to just give up the puck. And the Canadiens against Utah were just doing that nonstop. Until the second period, when they finally realized the middle of the ice was open and they just absolutely parted everything like the Red Sea. And you kind of saw that tonight in 2 or 3 different stages where at the beginning of the game, in the first period, when the Canadiens dominated, they absolutely controlled the middle of the ice. They kept on bringing it against Dallas, forcing the puck down their throats, getting scoring chances, looking extremely good. Dallas scored a goal. It was unfortunate, but the Canadiens continued to push through that period. And they dominated the first period. I don't think anybody can argue that point. But then in the second, they got away from what was working, and they started playing along the perimeter. I can't tell you how much I hate that kind of brand of hockey, where you continuously put the puck, like I said, you flip it out and you give it to the other team, or you put it off the boards trying to get it out, and you're not really using the middle of the ice to clear the zone and get out with speed. And I'm not talking about just taking the puck, turning and skating up the ice. I'm talking about defensemen along the half wall, looking towards the middle, streaking players, coming in, giving him the puck, allowing him to skate out with a little bit of speed and move the puck up to his wingers. That's what you want to see. But that's not what we were seeing. What was happening was the Canadiens were trying to skate it out up the middle, not really having any speed as they did so. Dallas was pouncing on them. And what was happening? The Canadiens kept on giving up the puck. So when the Canadiens actually control that mid-ice lane, the area between the dots all the way down the ice, when they control it, when they play in there, it's not even a question of controlling it, I don't think. As long as they're present in that area of the ice, they tend to have success. When they're not present and they're playing along the perimeter, that's where they have issues. And you saw it in that second period where they had chances to skate the puck into the Dallas zone from the mid-ice lane and decided instead to pass the puck over to the perimeter, even though the area was clear. I understand trying to move it to the side when you've got somebody on the forecheck coming right at you, but that wasn't the case. Right? There were times where guys like Yuri Slafkovsky and Christian Dvorak, and I believe the other one was Josh Anderson, were coming straight up the middle of the ice, had all kinds of space, and you know they can skate the puck. And instead of trying to drive the net a little bit and wreak havoc on the defense, they move the puck off to the side. So in effect, what you do when you do that is you slow down your team's momentum and you allow the other team to adjust and check accordingly. If you come up the middle of the ice with speed and your wingers follow that play, what happens is you have opportunities for drop passes. You have opportunities for the guys along the half wall to drive the net and create traffic. You can actually come up the middle and at the hash marks turn out and switch sides with whoever your winger is so that they go to the slot. And lo and behold, somebody follows. You open up the area. The pass comes in. You have a shot on goal from the slot, a high danger area. The Canadiens are good at it when they do it. And it's something that you've seen Marty St. Louis push nonstop. Don't skate to the outside with the puck. That's how he had success in his career. Despite the fact that he was a small, diminutive player, he was able to skate the puck up the middle and have success when he did it. Like I can't remember when we were doing Montreal Hockey Talk from the studio and it was just audio. And I would tell the guys, the problem with Scott Gomez was never the fact that he couldn't skate, because that's the one thing Pierre Gauthier got right. Scott Gomez was an elite skater. The problem with Scott Gomez is that when he was with the Rangers, he got hit in the knee as he was skating up the middle of the ice and didn't want to get injured like that again. So he decided instead of skating right up the middle, he would skate off to the side and teams would just let him. Because when he would get there, he didn't know what to do with the puck. That's why his career went down the tubes. Because he decided to change the way he played the game and it hurt him ultimately. It's the same for the Canadiens as a team as opposed to an individual. If they continue to skate the puck up the middle and force the other teams to make plays, they're going to open up more scoring opportunities and have chances from high danger areas. Shots from the perimeter on the outside are easy for goaltenders to stop. It's an angling job. Get to the top of your crease, square to the shooter. Most of the time, you're going to stop the puck, unless you're a sieve. But more often than not, a goaltender is going to make that save. That's why you see guys going cross-ice, trying to make goaltenders move, open themselves up, whatever. But if you use the mid-ice lane and you force the defense to make plays, you also create havoc for the netminder because he doesn't know where you're going. Are you coming straight up the gut? Are you going to move it off to the side? And when players do come to check you when you skate up the mid-ice lane and you cluster, the goaltender really has to look and see where that puck's going to go because he has no idea. And that's what you want to do. You want to get the goaltender away from being able to track the puck. It brings up more success. So the Canadiens got back to it in the third, started pushing up the middle. What happened? They started to dominate the game as the game progressed. And right near the 10-minute mark, you got that goal from Alex Newhook. So, and where was Newhook? He was in between the dots right in front of the net. Oh boy, imagine that. Anyways, watch. Every time the Canadiens play on the perimeter, they have issues. When they play in the middle of the ice and they dominate the neutral zone and the mid-ice lane, they have no problem playing against any team in the National Hockey League. Now we move on to the rest of the week. And 2 games coming up on the weekend. Always a tough task for Montreal. Never easy. Especially when you talk about the 2 teams they're taking on. One is the Toronto Maple Leafs on Saturday, the other, the New York Rangers. Now, granted, the Maple Leafs right now are going to probably be without John Tavares because he got injured in practice today. I didn't see who it was, but somebody took his foot out from right under him, and it looked like he pulled his groin. He's probably going to be listed as a game-time decision, but he skated off the ice in a lot of difficulty today. So we'll see what happens. But overall, I mean, the Leafs aren't a bad hockey club, but they tend to play down to their opposition more often than not. And right now, the Canadiens are up there. They're not one of those teams that's struggling to play. They're on the heater of all heaters right now. So, you know, the Leafs are going to come in here. They're going to have their hands full, you know. And one of the things the Leafs don't have is solid goaltending. So they're going to try to run up the score. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure who's going to start Saturday and who's going to start Sunday. If I'm Marty St. Louis, I'm most likely going to start Montembeault on Saturday and start Dobes against the New York Rangers. In talking about the New York Rangers, I had a discussion with my old pal, Paul Cuthbert, down in New York, the Ranger fan of all Ranger fans, and he's kind of given up on the National Hockey League because right now his New York Rangers suck. And it's not the player's fault. It's not the goaltender's fault. It's not the defense's fault. It's not the forward's fault. Right now they're playing with no confidence because nobody knows what's going to happen because Chris Drury is just all over the map. You know, word got out a couple of weeks ago that they tried to deal Mika Zibanejad. Well, that comes out, and how do you think Zibanejad's going to feel? Zibanejad, since that rebuild began, was the heart and soul of that hockey club. And I remind you that this rebuild was started by Montreal Canadiens Director of Hockey Ops, Jeff Gorton. So, you know, he went out and he acquired Zibanejad because he wanted that spark plug, that kid that was going to bring energy on the ice, getting him for the Ottawa Senators. And, you know, Zibanejad has done his job. He's really brought some energy. But they traded away Capo Caco, who's doing great in Seattle. They traded away their captain, Jacob Trouba, in all kinds of controversial fashion. And then you want them to play good hockey. If there's one thing about hockey players that everybody needs to understand, if a hockey player doesn't trust management, they're going to hold back. All right. You look at what's going on in Boston with the Bruins. And right now there's an issue with Don Sweeney and his team. The same can be said about the New York Rangers. There's an issue between Chris Drury and the direction he's taking the team and what his players are expecting. If you're uncomfortable as a player putting on a uniform and playing for somebody, you're not going to produce. So it's going to be interesting to see how this weekend plays out. The important game, the tougher game of the two is definitely going to be the Saturday game. Don't write the Rangers off. The Rangers are really going to bring it. They always do. But against the Leafs on Saturday, it should be awesome. The battle between Montreal and Toronto is always awesome. Almost as good as Montreal-Boston, but, you know, no playoff history, really. Who gives a rat's ass? See you Saturday night, folks. Be energetic. Be ready. Go Habs, go.